Hello and welcome to the Runners World podcast with me, Rick Pearson.
And me, Ben Hobson.
Today we're talking with the rising star of British athletics, Georgia Bell, about her incredible running journey. And it is incredible.
It is incredible. I mean, we say that quite a lot about everyone's running journeys, but...
I don't mean a mediocre running journey.
Bang average running journey. But this has got twists and twists and turns in this.
It has.
Very good, didn't run for ages, very good again. And why did that happen? Well, you're just going to have to listen.
You're going to have to listen.
You're going to have to listen.
You're going to have to listen. It's excellent. And obviously we've got an exciting year of athletics, haven't we, with Paris 2024 coming up. So there's lots of good stories knocking around.
Lots of good stories. This is a good one.
This is a good one.
I don't think we need any more intro than that.
No, I think we should I think there's enough about me and you. How's your running? Is it good?
Yeah? Yeah, good.
You're a good 1,500 metre star, are you? You're rising on...
Are you better than... No.
You're better than Georgia Bell? No, you're not.
No, you're not. So just be quiet.
Bring it on. Okay,
right,
perfect.
Guest of the week, here in the studio. Guest of the week, sometimes on the phone. Could be an athlete, could be a physio, or a complete unknown.
Georgia Bell, welcome to the Runners World podcast. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
It's been obviously an amazing couple of years for you, but you were actually an outstanding junior runner, weren't you? Can you give us a sense of like how you first got into running and some of the early highlights?
Yep, so first got into running just through sports day, beat all the boys at school, and one of the parents was like, better get her down to a running club, and then went into the kind of club system that you have in the UK with athletics, so like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday training. Had some good success as a junior. Probably highlights were things like winning English schools, I think I was 14 then, and just being a top ranked 800 metre athlete for under 15s and under 17s. So those were the glory days.
And the sort of trajectory for you was like to become was it looked like you were going to become a kind of star athlete? Was that kind of what was expected?
I think so. I think when you do something quite young and kind of everyone sees that you're quite good at it, and you kind of think of yourself as like, oh, this is kind of my identity now, and I'm going to go on to continue in this trajectory. Hit my teenage years, and I think either everyone else caught up, or I just stopped kind of doing so well at that level, and there being such difference. So I definitely thought running was going to be part of my life forever, but obviously I had a big break.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to come back now.
Before we get into the comeback, the incredible comeback, what's it like when you're that age and there's quite a lot of expectation? Because we talk about junior athletes and how they progress and how people progress through them. And Lauren Fleshman talks a lot in her book about especially young female athletes and how the sort of the treatment of them and how they're positioned against male athletes and considered when they're at their best and all these sorts of elements. What's it like then when you're sort of at that level and you see, changes happening, puberty, all of the things that impact performance for a young person, and then there's this pressure of everyone going, oh, she's going to be the next best thing?
Yeah, I think it is strange. On the one hand, I think it's really great for young athletes to be good at sport because it just gives you a level of kind of confidence I think has really impacted other parts of my life, like work, relationships, and for that reason I think it's really good for young people to get into sport and excel at that. But obviously, once you start performing well, once you've won a championship, if you don't win that championship every time, then that's a kind of downgrade. Yeah. So it is a lot to adjust to, and then obviously, bodies change, like your performance can change along with that. It's a different experience, I think, especially for women versus men. So I think you have to be kind of quite mature, and for a lot of people that's hard because it's at the age where you're probably your most immature and going through the biggest changes in your teens. It's a lot.
And you went over to the University of Berkeley, right, in California, but I understand that you were kind of quite frequently injured and fell out of love with the sport. Like, what went wrong at Berkeley, and what have you learnt through that process?
Yeah, so I think Berkeley was amazing for what I wanted it for, in terms of I wanted to live abroad, I wanted to experience the NCAA, which is an amazing league that they have out there. It basically feels like you're a pro athlete. But you're living in California, you're training with your friends. But the trade-off is that they expect you to race all the time because you are a business deal.
Okay.
Right.
So whereas in the UK, you might say, oh, I'm feeling a bit, like shins are a bit sore, like I'm probably not going to I'll give this one a miss this weekend. Over there, it's like, no, you're here for 2 years. We're paying a lot of money for you. Like, you will race all the time. And that's kind of what happened over there. They wanted me to peak for every season and race it every season. So cross country, indoor and outdoor. And I basically did well in cross country and then was injured for the bit that I actually wanted, which is indoor and outdoor. So I was just forever coming back from injury. And that was the times where it was going well, it was great, but I never ran faster than I did in the UK. So from a running perspective, obviously not an improvement. And I think I just learned from that experience that high mileage isn't everything. It was a very high mileage philosophy out there. And it was just kind of like crack on, do as much running as you can and sink or swim. And for me, kind of sank a little bit.
Yeah.
That's very strange. I hadn't really considered that, it being a business deal.
Yeah.
Like that side of that life. And so you out there on a scholarship? Is that what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you guys know as well that American scholarships, we think the UK is expensive for university. Over there, it's like 50k a year. So it's like 200k if you go as an undergrad. I went for a master's student for 2 years, so it's still the best part of 100k.
Wow.
So, I actually understand why they're like, look, we really would love you to race like as much as you can.
Yeah.
If you're going to be here for this period of time. And that's why a lot of British runners who are really good don't go to America, because it's kind of got that reputation that you will get injured, you will have to race a lot. If you're trying to go for that kind of Olympic level, best to stay in the UK, have a more personalised programme. But obviously it's a very different experience.
Yeah, it hasn't quite got the same kind of sunshine and of California, I say, but there you go. It's not everything. It's not everything.
Exactly.
When you kind of when you actually kind of stopped running, did you think that's me and running like we're done basically? I'm not going to be starting
I thought
again.
I was done. Yeah, I thought I'd be one of those people that like would do a marathon when I was 50 or something and be like, I used to run back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really thought I wouldn't again. Racing had just gone on such a downward trajectory for me. So when I finished my last race, I was like, I'm so happy that now I'm done. I'm ready to just be like a normal person, go into the working world. I think I didn't run at all for a year, didn't go on a run, just completely stopped. And then I think, after that, I might have gone for like the odd run, like once in a while if someone wanted to go for one, but like I just had completely fallen out of love with it.
Yeah.
And I guess you were racing the same distance then. You were still doing 1500 was your main.
Yeah, 1500 and 800s I was doing. Yeah.
So the idea of just in your training, you weren't going and doing a casual 10k anyway. So really,
no.
So it wasn't. Yeah, it's not really like you switched allegiances and started like considering going distance or anything like that.
No, I was just, I was just completely done when I stopped, and I was like, it's just time to be a normal person.
Did you then, as an active person, because I feel like if you didn't do anything, you'd probably, like all of us, slowly go sort of mad with frustration if you don't move. What did you switch running for then?
So I switched running for normal life. I actually went the opposite way for like a year. So like everything changed. Like I looked a little bit different, gained a little bit of weight, and just like took advantage of, I went straight working into my. I was working in my first job in San Francisco when I finished.
Yeah.
So I was living a really fun life. I was traveling all over the US and just, all the things that you had to say no to previously because you're racing or you're training. I was just like, we can go away for this weekend. We can go to Coachella. We can do whatever.
Yeah.
So all of the fun stuff. So I actually really enjoyed it for a year. And then I think slowly I was like, okay, probably need to start, everyone needs to do exercise and be healthy. So I started to kind of work it back in with just kind of some classes. And as I say, then the odd run. And then when I moved back over to the UK, that's when I got into cycling, which is still a big part of my training, and I think was a big part of coming back to fitness again.
So let's talk about the comeback then, because my understanding is that it was like a very decent parkrun result, and you were like, hang on a second, actually, I might not be done here. I've still got something to offer the sport. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, exactly. So I think with COVID and everything, when running and exercise was pretty much the only thing you could do, that's when I started to train a lot harder. Started to go for runs, but I'd got that kind of competitive side back again. Like I wasn't just going for a plod. I was like, okay, let's see how hard I can go for 2 miles, 3 miles, or do some tempos, that kind of thing. And then parkrun, so accessible. I just thought I'd hop into a parkrun. Had a few friends doing it, and I think I did like a 16:10 or something parkrun in Bushy Park, and I thought, yeah, that's actually okay. And that was the point where I said, I'm actually in decent shape. I might dabble with getting back on the track, and signed up to my first track race. So I'm actually doing that track race tomorrow.
Amazing. What was it?
And it's so weird. It's called the Comeback 5000.
It
was like it was made for me.
Yeah, right.
Because, so I did it 2 years ago tomorrow. And that was literally like my first comeback race. The first time I stepped on a track. And I was just like, after that, I was like, oh, I've missed this feeling. Definitely ready to get back into racing again. And yeah, things have escalated since then.
Amazing.
So.
How did you then build up? Because I mean, most people wouldn't consider even like that step back onto the track after having done it for so many years. Had you got into a coach at that point, or were you completely just under your own steam, kind of knew what you had to do?
Yeah.
Like, we'll talk about the cycling in a minute, but maybe you'd got like a really good base fitness and the running had crept back in. But most people would consider like, well, this has got to be dedicated, and I've got to. Were you just like, well,
yeah, it was strange because I was coachless. I just knew that this track race, this Comeback 5000 Battersea, was right by my house. I still had loads of friends in running, so I had friends who were doing it. And they just bought a pair of spikes for me. And because I've just done so many years of like warming up, like all that stuff, like I knew how to warm up for a track race, although it was really weird. That would have been 5 years since I'd stepped on a track. But I just thought it's a new distance for me. I'd never done a 5K on a track. So I just thought whatever it is will be my best that I've ever done. I'll just try and slot in behind some people, and if I can do a 16:08 or a 16:10 on the road, then I should just be able. It should feel easier on a track. I don't know if that's the case. It's actually really hard on track. But yeah, I just kind of went out on a whim, and I just said, what's the worst that can happen?
What did you run out of interest?
I ran 16:08.
Okay.
So, and then last year in a 5K I did 15:39 on the track, and then tomorrow let's see what I do.
Amazing.
I'll drop you guys a message to
let us know. Yeah, let us know.
I'm invested now.
Tell us about. So you get back in touch with Trevor Painter, right? And my understanding is that he said that you were the one that got away. He always thought that you were going to be a great runner, and it hadn't happened at that point. So what was that?
Yeah.
What was that phone call like? And what's the relationship been going? Since then, because it sounds like it's been a huge success.
Yeah, so it was really strange. So Trevor was coaching me when I was running my best in England. So he got me from like a 2:08 runner to a 2:03 within 6 months for the 800. And it was combining with my time that I was graduating from university. And I just said, look, I want to go to the US. And he was kind of like, he was like, I'll support you if that's what you want to do. But I think we could get you to be such a great runner if you stayed here. And then obviously I went off. I had a good life, but then stopped running totally. We kind of stayed vaguely in contact just for big life events, like when he had his daughter and things like that. But then after that Comeback 5000 race, I did a couple more races that summer, like British Milers Club races. And I kind of just sent him a message and said, look, I've kind of got back into running. Here's what I've done this summer, just on my own, not following a plan. What do you think about us working together again? And obviously knew he had done amazing work with Keeley, Sarah Healy, all of the athletes in that group who have just gone, just running incredibly. And luckily he was just like, yeah, great, it would be great to have you back. And just been going really well. I've just got back from 3 weeks in South Africa with them, where, when you're out on camp, it is like eat, sleep, train, repeat.
Right.
And yeah, it's going really well. I think they've got the best program ever for training, but I also just think they're just a great team. Him and Jenny, his wife, who was an athlete. So yeah, very happy that he took my call.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Yeah, that's great.
Can you come back?
How does it work? How does it work then with sponsorship and things like that now when you're making the comeback and you've got Trevor and Jenny and, you know, you've got results? Are you then, is it England Athletics, is it GB that kind of align you with someone, or do brands approach you? Like, how do you come back into that world?
Yeah, so I was really naive to all of that because I just had been out of it for so long and never really did it at a professional level, like I did it at a collegiate level at the university in the US. But it was even just stuff like, I wanted to get into races, and they said, well, you need an agent that's going to get you into races.
Right,
You can't just rock up and hope for the best. So they got me in contact with an agent, and then from there, after I started running well earlier this year, and because Trevor is a Nike coach, Keely's a Nike athlete, that's how I managed to sign with Nike earlier this year and on a contract with them because of the results and the relationship that they had. But yeah, I was naive to all of that, and I wasn't expecting that I would be able to get any kind of sponsorship. But obviously, the results of especially the indoors is what changed it. Just since January, everything's changed very quickly.
I was going to mention cycling again because I love cycling, so I wanted to talk to you about it. But let's talk about indoor quickly, just because you've mentioned it.
Yeah.
Have you always has indoor always attracted you? Is that what you were racing? You mentioned cross country, obviously, but were you racing a lot of indoor when you were junior, or what is it about indoor racing that? I mean, you've obviously hit some form, but there's obviously an attraction to the indoor scene.
Yeah, I just like indoors. Like, I like that it's more compact as a track because it means that you're really close to the stadium the whole time with the audience. I feel like more can go wrong just because there's really tight turns. You have to think a lot more about your tactics. Like, it's just I just find it really fun to mix up the racing element of it. And yeah, even when I was younger, I just remembered I enjoyed it and did quite well at a lot of indoor events. I also am not afraid to front run. And sometimes that's can be a bit of a risk when you're outside and you're battling the elements. But in indoor, when that's less of a factor, and when having the inside line is so important because it's just a shorter distance that you have to cover on an indoor track. Like, I like that style of racing. So I love the indoor season. And then obviously just the first race of this year with Dortmund, where I ran 4:03. That just kicked off like a series of events of going into lots of other exciting. Yeah, and then Birmingham for British Champs. That was just, it was all just so much fun. That's my memory of it.
Well, that's nice. That it was. You can kind of come to it from that place now, that it's not, I don't know, if the perspective of obviously having a job, which we'll talk about, but like having been out and coming back in, this is all sort of an extra gift or something. Like, there's a sort of extra sort of sense of just being, well, wasn't that nice?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's exactly how I feel, and I think the perspective that it brings to racing is so good because I'm not financially reliant on it, because I've kind of had a career / have a career and I'm coming back into it. It is just like, I'm doing running because I really like it. I find it so fun. I go into every race just thinking to grab every opportunity, like not taking anything for granted for coming back for a second time. And I just think that how that translates in races is that I'm not afraid. Like, I'll just go for it, and whatever happens, happens.
This is the Runner's World podcast.
Can we talk about because a lot of this stuff's happened while you having a full-time job?
That's why I was late as well. I've also just come off a full-time. I'm on my last few days off work. Yeah, so finished. I take a sabbatical from May the 1st, but yeah.
Oh, great, okay. Because I remember, I can imagine it's been a massive balancing act. Can you give us a sense of, like, because some people listening will be like, I run a lot of miles and hold on a full-time job, but I think the level you're running at is exceptional to be able to do both. So how on earth did you fit it in?
Yeah, it has been a lot. My social life is completely gone, I'd say. So I work remotely 95% of the time, which makes a huge difference because I just don't have to do a 2-hour commute every day, which just makes training possible. So yeah, it's just I've just been doing it now for the past year because and I've just got into the habit of it. But I am really looking forward to from May the 1st, just not having to wake up early. It's a lot of waking up early to get training in before work. So that happens a lot. That means also it's a lot of training on my own, because people are on a different schedule. But yeah, it's just a lot of time management, basically.
I bet, yeah. A lot of like 5:30 starts to do the running.
Yeah, like for the cycling before work, it is those 5:30, 6 a.m. starts. Wow. Really hard to do track sessions before work, but sometimes I've just had to do them on those days. So yeah, it's just.
Well, but Ben's dying to ask about the cycling.
Yeah, so about cycling.
Yeah.
So you were back in the UK after America, and that's when you got into cycling.
Yeah.
And was it just a pure like recreational? This wasn't like you wanted to enter races, or were you drawn into? It was just you wanted to get out and do something.
Yeah. So it was my fiance's a big cyclist, and I kept getting injured again, as I'd been getting injured in the US when I picked my mileage up over a certain amount. And he was like, just get a bike, like we'll go out on cycles all the time. Yeah. So I got one for lockdown, and then obviously just got really, really into it. Got very into Zwift racing as well. Yeah. And cycling is quite a social thing, as you probably know. So it's like meeting up with people to do group rides. I was just finding that, you can be out on the bike for hours in a way that I'd never be able to do with the run.
Yeah.
And just gaining fitness through that. And then also did a bit of competing with it, like not strictly just cycling, but things like the duathlon where you're mixing the two. Yeah. Like I found that really fun. And then just more of the cycling for fun stuff, like the Mallorca 312, climbing Mont Ventoux, like stuff like that, where it's a big physical challenge, and it's still competitive, but it's different from running, so it just keeps it fresh while contributing to your fitness.
How has it been then? What do you think the benefits are, and what do you think the negatives are between managing, obviously, like especially very upright, high performance sprint around 1,500 meters versus hunched over on the bike? You're not exactly. Coaches must not like it. Hip flexors are not very happy. All these sorts of things.
I was going to say, the negatives are definitely like the hip flexors are so tight. Like some of the circuit drills we have, like you can tell I'm a cyclist because like I just can't. Yeah, the hip flexors are in a lot of pain, and sometimes I think the benefits is just the way how I can keep my mileage low, but then still have a big cardio effort, going through the weeks. So I'll run about 30 miles a week and cycle about 100 is like what my mix usually is.
Yeah.
And that just, I think the Zwift racing makes you really fit. Yeah. And I also think those Zwift races are so hard.
Yeah, the standard it's mad sometimes now.
So it's 30 miles a week of running, because that is quite low, isn't it?
It is low.
How do you break that up? Are you doing could you give us a sense of what those runs, how that 30 miles is amassed in terms of like sessions? Yeah.
So I can talk, it's different when you go into race weeks and stuff, kind of when you're not racing and just training, what we do with Trevor is we do 4 hard sessions a week. So the thing that works really well for Trevor and me is that he is all about the intensity. Okay. And he's not all about the high mileage. So like a lot of other coaches, they'll build fitness through miles and miles and miles. Because I'm quite a low mileage athlete, I can't do that. So like I just won't be able, from the number of stress fractures that I've had in the past, I notice whenever I go over kind of 35, 40 miles, like I will always get problems. So it works really well with Trevor. Like we do a hard track workout, we'll do a hard tempo workout, we'll do some hills, and we'll do like a change pace run. Okay. Is like those kind of variations. Amongst, we'll also do some fartlek. We'll do, essentially though, like it's
quality work basically.
Quality work, and then the runs are just super easy, like really slow, low heart rate runs. Just to recover for sessions.
Anything long? Like what would be the longest run of the week?
Nothing like a 10-mile run maybe as part of a fartlek run.
Yeah. Okay, right. Yeah.
But I probably would do that once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
So
yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
sometimes the sessions can get to 10 miles or 9 miles. You include the warm up and the warm down.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
Would that be consistent? So building up towards any large event, then would the cycling come down? Would the mileage? I mean, as you say, it doesn't really go much further than 30 miles, but do you have to sort of factor in more intensity and things like that?
Yeah. So coming up to races in general, like depending on when you're wanting to peak, the sessions will get less intense. Just so that you're fresher for the weekend. I think I'm just conscious as well with cycling this summer because there's so many big races. I don't want to get knocked off my bike in London. So
yes.
I might do more on Zwift and things like that.
That's very good.
As we get closer to it, because that would be very unfortunate. And unfortunately, it just happens all the time.
Yeah.
I got knocked off my bike a week before London Marathon.
Did you?
Yeah.
And were you able to?
You were going to win as well.
No.
Yeah.
I completely had to have shoulder surgery and all sorts. So I was absolutely.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, exactly.
So you're right. You're correct to not do that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That would be. I'm sure Trev would not be happy.
No one was happy with that. Yeah.
So the next focus then is the British Trials, right? That's. And then have you dared to think like beyond that to obviously like to Paris and stuff? Like where's your head at this year?
Yeah, I mean, I'm aiming for Paris 100%. So like I've taken work, I've approved a sabbatical. So like I'm completely taking off the summer to try and aim for it. I think, Team GB is so stacked, like there's so much depth, there's so many good British athletes, but I really do think that it is achievable. And, if I go for it and don't make it, then that's fine. But I think I need to go all in and try and make it. So this summer for the first bit is just going to be all about chasing the Olympic qualifying time. So the first shot at that will be with the Diamond League in Doha in 10th of May. And then I'm going to be heading to Oregon for another go at mid-May. And then, it's all about having the best race of your life at British Champs. So if I run the time and I come top 2 there, you're banked, you're good to go. And then there's that discretionary third spot. But I came 4th at World Indoors. Hopefully I'll be selected for Europeans in Rome at the beginning of June and would do well there. So I feel like things are going well and there's good momentum and I'm just going to throw everything into it. So
great.
Yeah, I haven't just dared to think about it. I think about it all the time.
I bet. But Glasgow was a really great race for you, wasn't it? Like, that 4th was, and then against that sort of stacked field, all the Ethiopian runners and everything like that, it was, and seeing them, I was watching it actually just before we started talking, and that coming down the home straight and just overtake, there must that drive to just get there. Well, as a race, how was it?
It was so fun. It was so much fun. Like, I absolutely loved racing there. It was a bit, like bittersweet. Like 4th is a tough spot. But because I know I was so close to a medal, but at the same time, it's like my Team GB debut. And the Ethiopians and the Americans, or some Ethiopians and some Americans beat me. But, I was really proud of how I raced it and like went for it. And, didn't quite end with the medal, but was really close for a first attempt. So it was great racing experience and it was really good fun. Yeah.
Okay, we're looking for some advice now, Georgia. This lunchtime, we Runners World do the Runners World 5K. So any 5K running or training advice, and maybe even the mile. I know obviously 1500 is specialism, but I think mile is probably more applicable to people listening, I think,
Yeah. So I'd just say, like, if you're trying to get faster, then you just have to have intensity into your training. So I feel like a lot of my friends, they'll be like, oh, I'm not getting any faster. And they're just going for runs and it's kind of like pleasant runs, So I just feel like you need to make sure that at least once a week, but ideally twice, you're doing sessions where you're like gasping for breath, you're really getting your heart rate up. So whether that's doing 1K reps instead of you're better off doing 5 1K reps than just doing a 5K easy run once a week. Like that's the sort of thing that you should be fitting into your training. Or same thing if it's a shorter distance over the mile, 1500, like doing 200s as fast as you can, like off short recovery, once or twice a week. So yeah, that would just be my advice. Don't just go for runs and hope to see improvements. Make sure that
it's a shame, isn't it? It's a shame you can't just hack this stuff by going for easy runs.
I was really hoping
you have to work quite hard.
No, such a shame.
Yeah, sorry.
Fair enough.
Is there any draw for you to do like any distance, as you sort of like, you came back doing a park run, 5K has come into the mix. We've got like night of the 10K PBs and stuff like these big sort of draw events, which are really sort of interesting, different distances for you. But like, have you got any attention, or I mean, probably not this year in the headspace because of Paris, but are you drawn to just trying new things with running?
I am open to it because, I feel like it's nice to know that there are different levels to go to. I think I'm more intrigued by the kind of triathlon, duathlon stuff. I think that is more fun for kind of a next phase, because I just think the most fun stuff in running is on the track, like the short stuff, like the 800, the 1500, like the tactical but fast races. Like there's so much more fun to race and for the spectator to watch than, in my opinion, like a marathon or a 10K. Like it's
for sure.
Those are not fun to run, I don't think.
I think that is true. If people want to find out a bit more about you and your running, Georgia, is there any way they can go online to sort of follow your progress?
Yeah, I've got my Instagram, which is like fairly active just with races and things like that. It's called Georgia Bell, the duathlete, which people keep telling me I need to change. I'm more of a track runner now. But yeah, it's just Georgia Bell, the duathlete on Instagram, and I just put up loads of stuff about races, training, workouts, the journey, stuff to Paris. So yeah, that would be a good place to go and follow.
Great. Thanks so much for your time and coming on the podcast. It's so great to talk to you about your amazing running journey, and we wish you all the best getting to Paris. And then when you get to Paris, all the best at Paris as well.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, guys.
Thank you. Cheers. So that brings the end of this week's Runners World podcast. A huge thanks to our guest, Georgia Bell, and to you, of course, for listening.
Subscribe to the magazine.
Oh, hey.
Not you, Rick. You get it for free, you lucky man. But you can get it for near free if you Google Runners World UK subscription, find the Hearst Magazine's website, and go on there and find an offer. The offers are so good, you'll just get it's basically free. Or there's a gift.
As good as free.
Or something good like that.
Yeah.
So please do that. Subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already. Share it amongst your running pals. There might be something useful in there. Not only do we talk to incredible athletes like Georgia Bell, but we talk to physios and coaches and the odd celeb. So you never know what you might get. So check out the back catalogue if you haven't already. And you'll hear from us again next week.